Hello again, it's Nicola. I'm back with another video to follow on from the last one, which was making the journal cover. So in the last video, this is what I made with you. And so now we need some things to go inside it. So first of all, I thought we'd start with signatures. So if you don't already know, the papers that you put inside a journal are called a signature, and they can be made from all sorts of things. You can use brand new papers, lines, squares, plain, whatever you like, or you can use tea dyed or other dyes. So that's sort of what I've got here. I'll talk about that in a minute. You can use junk and create all sorts of interesting pages from that. You can use them for all sorts of things. So journals could be used for writing in, obviously. You could use it just as an art journal, so practicing art techniques, just doing arty fun things in it. You can use them just to make ephemera and put those in without having to do any writing. So the world's your oyster, it really is. You can do what you like in your own journal. Many people make them to sell, all sorts of things. So I have one signature already, which I'd put together some time ago. And I did say in my last video I would talk about how I created these papers. So this paper here was dyed with some Virginia Creeper red leaves. So I cooked up the leaves with some water, cooked them for a while, and I ended up with sort of a dye. And I put some papers in and they came out sort of pinky. Let me just extract from here. Can't remember what these were done with, but this sort of colour anyway. But if you then mix that with copper mordant, so I dyed the papers, I think I dried them, and then put them through with some copper mordant, which looks like this. And I've used that in my eco dyeing videos, which I'll link below, so you can have a look if you want to, and you can find out how to make the copper mordant. I ended up with this green colour, and it's quite an unusual but quite fabulous colour. I then used some sprays with placemat, sprayed the spray through the placemat and let that dry, and then took the placemat away, and then ended up with this sort of starburst pattern. This one was, I think, tea dyed in the first place, and then I just did some splats of inks on there. Some bits of different colour on that side and blue ones on that side. Which ink I used, I cannot remember because it was a long time ago. That's the same again. This one was, I'm fairly certain, red cabbage. Cooked up red cabbage with water. And then again, I did sprayed some things through a placemat. These sort of plasticky placemats you can get from cheap shops. And I just bought some random ones here and there, and then just used them to spray through. And obviously that edge was the edge of the mat, so I got some of the pattern, and then I got some random stuff going on there as well. This one was I think that was probably the Virginia Creeper without putting it through with the copper mordant, and again some sprays through, and some splats on the other side. So dead easy, no skill required. You can literally use, and you can see here I've got a massive pile. So that's why I'm not doing more, because I've got so many here I need to use. These ones are done with rusty nails. Put them down, sprayed water on each side, and just let those, so I did sort of layers of them. That's some tissue paper I did the same thing with. So you can use any papers you like. I think that's probably coffee, and I probably sprayed it. Didn't cover the whole thing because you've got bits of white and sort of different layers. Probably did more than one layer on there. But you just get so many interesting That's definitely a sprayed on one because you can see the spray action, and then this has got more on it. Layer them up, print them onto each other and so on. So you end up with all sorts of interesting things going on, and it's super easy. So let's pick a few of these out. And I had 5 sheets of A4 in there. So let's do 5 again here, and we'll do some different ones. So I'm just picking out. That one was some sort of stencil. Oh, a sort of a tree stencil I think I created. And I've obviously put the stencil down and then just sprayed. So you get all sorts of colours. I don't know what spray I used, but... So we've got 1, 2, 3. Let's go for 4 different ones. Let's have 4 and 5. Let's go for one of those as well. So put those out of the way and group those together and literally fold them in half. Now, obviously when you fold papers, you end up with this sort of stepping. If it bothers you, then use a metal ruler and a craft knife and just trim off. If it doesn't bother you, don't worry about it. And if you're going to do things like putting tabs perhaps on some of your pages, then it might not bother you at all. So the choice is yours. So I'm going to do 2 signatures in my journal, and those should both fit absolutely fine. So you can see that they'll fit in there fine, and there's still a little bit of space then to be able to do stuff with them and bulk them up a little bit more, and that won't be a problem. So we'll put that to one side. So we'll work on one at a time. Since my last video, when I had my disasters of my splats going blue instead of staying white, I have treated myself to some bleed proof white Dr. P.H. Martin, because I thought, right, the time has come. On this, and I can't remember if I said it in the last video, that I had a disaster with this, so you have to go and watch the video to see what disaster I had. But after my disaster, I did then do some more splatters before I then waxed over the top. But I'll link that video below, and I'll do my eco video so that you can see. In fact, I think I did 2 eco videos if I remember rightly, so you can go and have a look. So what we need are some things to add interest to the journal. As I've said before, I am not a writer in journals except when I go on a holiday, and generally most holidays I'll take something with me and I can just note what we've done each day, because otherwise I do forget. So that's the only time I journal. Other than that, I just love making things. And I was sort of berating myself that, you know, why am I making all these things? What am I going to do with them? And I just do it for the love of it. And do you know what? There is nothing wrong with that. I've decided there is nothing wrong with that. So let's just make some things because we can. Now, one thing, 2 things actually here that I've got. I went to an IndigoBlu event where we were experimenting with inks and things, which was great fun. And when I was cleaning off some stencils which had some gritty embossing paste stuff, I cleaned off the stencil, and I ended up, because I got paper towels, with the gritty stuff ending up on here. So from 2 different stencils that I'd cleaned, and I thought, you know what, I can't get rid of that. I need to keep those and one day add some inks. So I think I might just give that a go. And it might be that I could take a section if it comes out all right, and just stick it onto one of my pages. So I think that's what we might just have a little play with now. I am going to just use my tearing ruler. So this is my tearing ruler, which I made myself. I had a spare ruler because I've got lots, and I got a file from the garage, from the toolbox, and I literally went and filed, let's do it on there and then you can see, and just made a random pattern along there, and I use that now as my tearing ruler. So that's a good way of doing it without having the cost of buying a tearing ruler. And then you can just use it, and there we are, got a nice torn edge. But my torn edge is torn where I want it to be torn and not where it thinks it would be a good idea, because often with, well, as you can see, when you go one direction it's fine because of the direction of the fibres of the paper, but if you go in the other direction like this, it gets very torn, so you can see the difference. Let's just take the end of that off as well. But it just makes it more intentional, but you've still got that roughness. I haven't done that edge, but maybe I will do it actually. Might be easier now before I start adding. It's very difficult doing it where you're tearing a small bit off. What can be better is to line up. You've got to hold it still, and so then you've got hold of the bigger bit, but the problem is keeping that bit still enough and anchored so that you can do that, which isn't easy. Let's just see if we can do a bit at a time. That might be the way. There we go, that's kind of done it. Right, I've got some Vivid inks. I've got Payne's Grey, and I don't quite know how this is going to work because I haven't done anything on the paper towel before, so we'll just see what happens. Worst case scenario is I have to chuck it out. We'll add some water to it, so although it doesn't look like we've got much going on there then. And you do have to give these inks a good shake because some of them do settle more than others. And I know my olive green one is a real settler, as it were. So we've got Payne's Grey, then we've got olive green, and then I'm going tasty turquoise. Might end up, as it happens, with way too much ink on there, but never mind. We'll see how we get on. We've got a bit of spray some water. Might even spray this. The only problem I've got now is this is going to be very fragile. So I just plonked it down and picked it up quite quickly. Now, just going to move that up, just so I can lay that down there and move that ink around a bit. So the idea, I think, for me, in my head, is that the white of the embossing, can't remember what it's called, True Grit, I think, will resist the ink. So that should stay white, and then my background should pick up the rest. So let's just keep going with picking that up. Might end up needing more in the long run. So I think I'm going to let that dry. I'm just going to try these Will Scarlett. So that mixed. I'll just do a different colourway. There. And Loxley yellow. Try that. Spray my paper towel. Let's see if we can spread that ink more with plenty. Just want it to really mix so that I get oranges. Let's give this a good old mix. The drop of golden sun, the metallic ones really need a good mix up. And you have to keep mixing them when you're using them. Let's try dropping a bit in and see what happens. Now, whether that will obscure the white or not, I don't know. Oh, that's what I'm trying to do, little bits. Got to have some gold on there, haven't you? Yeah, I think that might turn out all right once it dries. So I'm going to come back when I've got those two dry, and then we can see what we can do with them. I'm back and these are now dry. That one, whilst I was drying it, I thought the gold looked a bit splodgy, so I actually sprayed a fair bit of water onto it just to move it about a little bit. So I think that looks better now, looks a bit more natural somehow. Going back to my last video when we made the cover, I had some of my masterboard left over, so I've cut some here, which I can't remember what I cut it at. I cut it at 5.5 in length, and it is approximately 9 wide. So I'm going to cut this into 3 bits of around about 3 inches each, so that I can make tags. I think that's what I want. Oh no, that looks too wide. No, I think I might go 2.5 and then see what we've got left over. So let's do that. So we've got 2 larger, 2 wider, 2 narrower. I do have this old card, and I cut ages ago different diagonals off the corners, which meant then that you can just use it as a marker to create your edges for your tag. You know, you cut off your corners for your tags. So I think I shall do that size and turn it over, back that way, and that corner. There we are. I'm going to leave those for the moment. I'm going to take this one here, and I think I might put some of this on. So what do I want, and how much of it do I want? So let's go down there. Something like that. And you can use that for something else. And I'm actually not going to have all of that 7. I think I'm going to tear that off the bottom as well. About there. Oh, whoops, doesn't matter. Kind of makes it look a bit more organic. Actually, that might have been a way to do that one as well. Do that, that's better. Happy accident, happy accident. So let's do a bit of that, a bit of Unchartered Mariner as well. And we'll stick a bit of water spray with, dabbing it in. Oh, look, nice. Bit up there. Oh, I like that. So we've got this that we go with it. Oh, not going to get rid of that. I will keep that. To my side, well, let's show you these. I bought in the Sizzix sale. I wasn't going to buy more stuff, but I bought a few of these Seth Apter. I just love the shapes. This one is a huge die, and it cuts out something this size, which is massive. But what I love about it is you can just use bits. So I could use some bits on here, and I think I might. But I had one sheet of A4 background, and look at all the bits I cut out of it. But also, where I've cut these things, look at these lovely edge bits. You end up with fabulous patterns. So some of those things are definitely going to find their way onto this tag. I really quite like some of that. And that contrasting orange as well. Some of this, yes. Right, so that needs to dry. And I'll be back in a sec. And I think I forgot to put my camera on, so I'm not sure what I've missed with showing you, and I'm really sorry to have a bit of a jump. But I've been using some of these things that I cut out, just trying out and seeing what I think of them. But one of the things I have got is these little birds, which are another Sizzix, and I don't know what I've done with the dies, but they're I think they're a Tim Holtz, but I wanted it to be quite dark, so I've just got some cheap glue. I did do a video on oh hecky peck, no, I don't need that much, do I? Cheap alternatives to gilding gum if you can't get gilding gum, and one of them was this PVA, but you don't need buckets of it. So I've just got these little pots that I bought cheaply from Amazon. I think there were about 20 of them, and I think it was £4 or £5. So they just have a little screw top lid, and they come with a little spatula-y thing each as well. I think there were 20 of them, so it'll keep me going, won't it? So I'm just going to use some of my cheap mica powders, again from Amazon. And the black pearl. Black silver was more of a grey one. Let's try some of that. Yes, that is much more silver. Might do a bit of each colour actually in there. So if I do that, I hope you can see what I'm doing. And then I'll put some of the black pearl in there, which is a definite black. And because I just want my bird to sit on there but stand out. Let's try that. I'll use that to mix my as well. Ooh. Go gently. And let's just smooth that out. That's better. Just make sure I've gone all around the edges as well, because I think this is 2 layers of card. It feels quite substantial. Oh, put your finger in it, why don't you? My birdie's escaping. There we are. to put those for washing in the water. Right, that can dry off. So what you want to do is just sort of try things, just see what they look like. If you don't like it, take it away and just try something else. And then Birdie, up you come. Bent his leg, poor chap. Dear, it's a bit cruel, isn't it? Right, let's move you fellows out of the way. I could put some colour on there. I've still got my colour here, and actually I've got 2 leaves. Let's try this smaller one. Let's put that in here. It's dried up a little bit, some of that. There we are. Makes quite a fancy looking effect though, doesn't it? Oh, I like that speckled look. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Right. That could go in here somewhere. Just let it dry a bit before I splodge it everywhere. Just found the gold. Definitely need some gold splatters on there, but I don't want them on my bird. So I think once I'm kind of content with that, and oh heck, something just landed on my foot, excuse me. Right, let's just move some of this out of the way. There we are. We've got, is that dry yet? Dryish. Where would that go? Don't like that there. What I don't want to do is do too much, but likewise don't want too little. That might be better. There's sort of marrying colours there and here. That might be better. And do I want one other bit? Let's just try that. That one there, and that one there. I think I prefer that. I'm going to stick most things on, apart from my birdie. I'm going to get these things stuck on, and then we'll do a bit of gold splattering before birdie gets stuck on. Right, I have finished that tag, but I'm not convinced that I like it, I have to say. So I'm going to do something else, and we will see what we think. So I've got some distress inks, and I'm using distress because I want to see through. Well, that's the cunning plan. So I think I'm going to use chipped sapphire and shabby shutters. So let's try this and see if I end up with something that I prefer. So the distress inks tend to be more translucent than the oxides. The oxides, if you dry them in between, you can sort of layer them up, which is not so much the case with the distress ones. I have to say and confess that I do use my brushes across distress oxides and the distress inks, so you know there is a bit of crossover anyway. Shabby shutters at the bottom and blending it up into the chipped sapphire. Let's go for a bit more chipped sapphire at the top here and just blend a bit more across the middle there. I do love how the torn edges pick up the colour actually. That is nice. A bit more blending there. Okay, flicking water on. Doesn't help when you've got grubby fingers, does it? Got glue all over them. Let's move that. There we are. Let that react. It is a dry cloth. It's very grubby, but it is dry. Yes, there's a bit of reaction gone on there. And then I might just I'll show you in a second and show me in a second as well. That's it. I'm just going to dry that. I'll be back. That's pretty dry. So I'm just going to pick up some more. Trying to get some of these speckly bits. So you see how the oxides sit on top. It doesn't mean to say they're not reacting a bit with, because they're wet, but they will react a little bit with the distress ink. But you do get that layering look. Right, that's quite nice. I'll dry that and be back. Right, I'm back. I'm not sure I'm loving this kingfisher. I do love kingfishers, but I'm not loving that picture. So I found my little white, or nearly white, and then, of course, I've splodged on it. So the only way to deal with that is to splodge some more. Because, well, there is nothing else you can do, is there really? So it's going to have a few splidgy splodges on it. I'm just going to try and make these splodges of water smaller by spreading them out a bit. There we are, wipe and splodge. Now we have some deliberate splodging. There we go. It's the only way to do it, isn't it, really? I also found on my desk this leaf, which I preserved, and I think I did it with matte medium or gel medium, possibly. I think I painted it on each side to sort of preserve it a bit. And I wondered about maybe sticking that on there with some more gel medium. And this birdie on there, and I think I prefer that. I think I need something else here, but I'm not sure quite what. Might just be that it needs to be a bit of gold splatter. But I'm going to scout around and see what else I can find, because I have a lot of things on my desk. So I'm bound to find something. I shall be back in a minute. Right, I have made some decisions. I've actually found another leaf, so I'm going to do 2 leaves rather than 1, and then I've got a bit more height. My birdie's as is, so that's going to stay as is. And I am going to just take my chipped sapphire, and I'm just going to take it round the edge, all the way round, so that this bottom bit has got a bit of blending around the edge of it. There. Look, I haven't had my mat underneath, and now never mind, this one's silicone as well, so it will wipe up. there. And I'm going to do some gold splatters, little ones. And given that I've bought this bleed proof, I'm going to do some white ones as well. So I'll do those. And I thought I might just go for a little bit of, you've guessed it, some gilding wax on the leaves, because I think that might make those look rather nice. So let's let that dry off a bit. Birdie out of the way. It's don't need to go all over everywhere, but a bit around the outside. I could even take my gold. Why don't I? Let's do that, and then I'll do the splatters. I might not do it everywhere, I might just do it here and there. Do that. There we are. So that's a drop of Golden Sunshine for Vivid ink from IndigoBlu. And then let's open this, which has now got gold splatters on it. Okay, I think I need to just water that down a bit. Put a bit on my mat. Add a bit of water to it. That splatters very nicely. Oh yes, I like that. I like that a lot. Let's just wipe that up. Right, so those do need to dry. Right, I'm back with some matte gel medium to stick my leaves on. Because they're real, they're kind of uneven, and so need a bit of adaptable glue, shall we say. And I've coloured a ribbon there. It was beige, and so I've just put some of the shabby shutters and chipped sapphire on it so that it marries up with the colours on this. Layer that one onto there. There we go. That keeps bouncing back up, doesn't it? Okay, birdie. You can be walking in amongst the leaves. Alright, let's have you there, I think. There we go. And those splatters now just fill up that space nicely. It's almost like it's a evening sky, isn't it? There we are. Then we've got this ribbon. Right, so that is tag number 2, which I feel I prefer compared to tag number 1. However, tag number 1, I think I'm just going to do a bit of ink round the edge and see if that helps. I've put actually a green paper ribbon through this one, and then I just put some of the Unchartered Mariner on it. But what I am just going to do is just go around the outside of this with the Unchartered Mariner, because I think that might just help it. And then you can tell me what you think. And that does bring it together better, doesn't it? Right, I have torn down the side of this piece from because it was bigger, and just torn across the bottom. So I've got 2 torn edges and 2 straight edges, which I think is fine, because I actually want to stick this onto one of my pages in my signature. So I'm going to stick it on there. If I then do other things with it at a later date, I can, but I think that would look quite nice. But in order to stick it, I think I need to use some matte medium, and it would probably be easier if I take this out of there and do that. It may separate. Now, do I want it that way round or that way? No, quite like it that way actually, for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I do. So I'm going to put matte medium, oopsie, all over here. Okay, well, let's put that down on here. And down we go. And I think probably the easiest thing is actually just to take some matte medium across the top as well. It'll seal it and secure both layers onto my paper. Right, I've cleared up and we just need to do a bit of finishing off. So first of all, those are the 2 tags. Still not sure about this one. I prefer it now that it's got some edging to it, but still not overly convinced. Still preferring this one, I must confess, with my little leaves. With regard to putting them into the journal, I have made a pocket out of some more of the masterboard, and I've just dabbed it because I had some spare ink from where I'd blended, so I've just dabbed it into there. I could always dab it again because it's dried, so that could be a little pocket that goes into the journal. So here's a page, for example, so you could pick something where it blends in, like that, or something where it's a bit more of a contrast. Let's see what colours we've got there, where you've got a bit more of a contrast, for example, or that. You know, it completely depends what you like and what you would choose. I think I'm actually quite like that against that colour, in fact, so that might work. Then you could decorate your pocket. This is something I made a long time ago with some painty papers. It's a bit of music paper, and then this, I just drew this onto copier paper, I think, and then cut round it, and then just stuck all the bits together, and something like that could then decorate your pocket. I don't want to cover that bit because I quite like that. Then you could stick a butterfly on. That needs a bit more zhuzhing up, but you know what I mean. So that would be an easy thing, and I'm quite happy for the ribbon to stick above the, so if I did that, put it in there, for the ribbon to stick above is fine with me. If it's not, then adjust it, trim it down, put the tag in lower, whatever you prefer. So that's an option for that. Alternatively, for this one, for example, if you wanted the bird peeking out, this is some handmade paper which I've had forever and a day. So you could make just a little shallow pocket. I haven't finished this one off, as you can see. But, you know, you could just have a little shallow pocket, and then you can see what's in your tag more. Again, if you don't like the ribbon sticking out, chop it off or adjust. So those are options. As it goes for the moment, I'm not going to stick things in yet until I've made a few more things to go in this. And I will with time, do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch to stick both of my signatures, or to sew them into the book to create the journal. So do let me know if you would like to see all of that and a few more makes. I just want to jump in with another super simple idea for creating tags. This one is very old. I think I found it in my mother's things, Lion brand. I don't know whether that brand exists anymore, but it was a company in the UK a long time ago. So that's a pre-made one. These ones are from my masterboard, and I thought I might just round the bottom corners of these ones, just by way of a change from the other ones I've done. So, first of all, these two, I'm going to use VersaFine Black Onyx. Yes. And because I've already got some text and whatnot on there, I don't need quite so much stamping on this. I do quite like this stamp here. Don't know where I got that one from. I've had that a long time. I've got another one here which is an All and Create, and it's called Brush Flower, that one, and it's got this text, and I can't remember the brand for this. Might be English Stamp Company, but can't, or no, maybe it's not. Maybe that was free with a magazine. Might have been. Might just go for one of these first. Might just do it freehand, simply because I've got the layers of papers, and actually if I use it freehand, I might just be able to get it pressed down exactly where I need it. Let's put this smaller one down here. Up, yes. Might be easier just to do it that way around, actually. Yes, that's a lot easier. And I have got a tiny bit just up there. I'll take that off. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect stamping for this. Oh, and you can also stamp your fingers while you're at it. Let's get it that way around, I think. And away we go. Hold it on for a moment. I might have just ended up double stamping that. Oh, it's not so bad. I've missed a bit there, but that can always be filled in with a black pen. Quite like this little open flower. There we are. Not sure if I've used that before, so let's give it a bit of a wipe over with my fingers just to remove the residue from where it was made. I did that there. I might just stamp over the bit I missed. Oh, look at that. It's the way to do it, isn't it? Might just put a few of those on here. Actually, that's a third stamp. Yes, that's it. Just needed a paler one. so that it's got a bit of stability to it with the carrier sheet, but it's also got that flexibility as well that I need really for up there or down there. Might go down there actually. There we go. And just give it a minute because of the surface that it's going on to. There we are. I think I want some of this Wall and Create number. I think I want some of that up there. Yeah, let's try that. Stamp a little bit on here. Now this one, I am going to use some different texts in the background. I've got this one. I think this could have been a global land, possibly. I think it came with some other ones. Amazon in some is, I'm thinking of. Woodware, this one's in Latin. And this one's very old. This is Kaisercraft script. So I'm going to do bits of each of these. I'm actually going to do two at once. Right, two done. Right, I have punched holes and dried those off, and I've got some vintage photo. And just going to go around the outside. And it just really finishes them off nicely. And of course you can do some extra stamping on top, so I can show you that. Now they're dry. It's that one was Distress Ink. This is Oxide, and I've got Scorched Timber. Just going to use the same thing. Just to see what that looks like around the outside of this. Of course, it's going to be blended with the vintage photo anyway, because I'm using the same one, same dauber. So with this, I could then do, I do love this one. I am going to use that one again, just to show you the difference. And oh, heckity peck, not concentrating. I've just stuck my finger in the ink pad. So let's just do this one. that is going to go on there. Hold it down just for a minute. And lift. There we are. So whilst it's all the same colour, let's just show you the two. Oh, it does add a bit to it, doesn't it? So I'm going to leave them separate like that, just so that you can see. And obviously the string needs to go back in. And then, so that's with the masterboard, those two. And then these two were the plain tags in the first place. So lots of different ways you can do tags. Now, for putting tags into your journal, just going to bring a signature back here. I don't know which order I'm putting this video together, so you might not have seen that yet, but if you haven't, you will. I thought I could use some snippet roll. I made this a very long time ago, and I've used, by the looks of it, don't remember doing it, but anyway, some paper pattern, dressmaking pattern. So I've done that as a strip, a long strip, and then on top I've just glued scraps of paper where I've had bits left over from this or that, or I've just torn them up. And then on top of that, once that's all stuck on and dry, and I've made a great long thing, I have then done bits of stamping. So just with black ink and there. So I've cut a piece off, and I thought that could be quite an interesting belly band. And then, I know this hasn't got any string or whatever on it, but you can then stick your tags behind it. So I'm actually going to stick this belly band on. So you just glue it top and bottom. It's a bit rolly still because of it being stored in a roll, just so it doesn't A, damage, and B, get in the way of everything. So decent amount of glue at each end. And I'm just going to glue it in the middle of my page. There we are. So you can see I've used old map in there, bits of painty papers, things that I've stamped, and bits of old book, bits of music paper. So it all blends well with this journal. And then, as I say, what I could do, because that is a bit loose, sitting loosely, I'm just going to lift that. And what I am, going to do is just do, can you see, a line of glue down the middle. And then basically I've created two pockets. So that's a way of handling it if your belly band isn't behaving itself. You can just turn it into two pockets and then it'll all stick down. I'm just going to put this back through here as well. And that one. There we are. And then that'll fit in there. And let's go for a different one. So we've got different lengths. You can always have two. You could have two in there and two in there. Which way around did I do it? So you can do that if you want. That's another way to do some different tags, either with a masterboard or with plain tags that you can then decorate. I'm just popping back on because this tag that I hadn't finished off, I suddenly spotted on my desk one of the little birdies, and some of this stuff that I'd had from cut out from the Seth Apter things that I showed you at the beginning. And I thought, do you know what? might just, and then I'd got this little sprig which I found on my desk as well. So a little pop of colour, and the sprigs were bright, fairly bright white, so I've just using my residual colour from the, you see how bright white they were. So this was one great long one, so I've just cut it so it's into 2 bits. That pop of colour, and then I've just popped some colour around my little birdie, and I thought little birdie could sit on there somehow and lay. I don't mind it sticking out, quite like it, and I quite like that little pop of colour behind, so I'm going to stick that together. Now, another completed tag in a different way, and created basically from scratch from one of those, so that's always a sense of achievement. I was just sticking down a few more bits and realised I wasn't filming, so I'm sorry. I've used some more of the bits that from the Seth Apter things that I cut out I showed you at the beginning. This circle was one of them, and all these bits and pieces. If I use this journal for writing for a holiday, then I want space to be able to write, and these colours sort of linked, I felt, with what I've got going on here and here. And I found this flower bit on my desk, and I found this thread on my desk, so I thought, right, well, let's use some things up. These things we keep and think we're keeping them for a reason, and then don't use them, so let's make a reason. And let's put them usefully into a journal to decorate. There we are. I think I'm going to go there actually. And then that page is done and ready to be journaled on, and obviously that was the page where I was going to tuck my tags. There we are. So that's another page done. Good. So these can go. Actually, that does go nicely, doesn't it? Because of that. So that's a definite for that page. Let's put it there, because then we've got a beautiful link there. That's it. Good. And then that one can go there. And then I might just put these somewhere else in my journal. And then we've got the birdie peeking out as well, which I rather like. So that's good. And this was the one that I'd stuck in. And somewhere. So I'm kind of wondering, actually, because there's not so much going on colour-wise on here, they might be quite nice tucked in there. So do I... So I've got noughts and crosses then, haven't I? In fact, that's a clearer cross. We call the game in the UK noughts and crosses. I think in America it's called tic-tac-toe. Maybe in other parts of the world as well. But actually that would be quite fun, wouldn't it? Sorry, these little things do amuse me. And then those could go in there. Do you know what? I might just do it. I'm going to round those bottom, where have I got my corner rounder there? I think I'll go, let's go small. So let's see what we've got so far. So then we've got our two, oopsie, that's unsticking already. I'm going to have to put something heavy on there, aren't I, just to hold it down. So we've got that, and we've got this double page is actually now finished. And that's, having put the glue down the middle of there, that actually does mean that those don't fall out. I have recorded this video in all sorts of different strange orders just because that was how my brain was working at the time. Bring these little tags in and that little pocket that I haven't yet used, and just say thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed what I've done. If there are things like the snippet roll that you don't know, you haven't seen me make, that you would be interested in, do let me know. I have got in mind that I want to do a card in my next video, and I also know that people want some gel printing ideas, particularly seeing the design I did on the front cover of this journal and how I did this. Never going to repeat exactly the same thing. Can't always remember what you've done, to be honest, or which colours you've used. But, I can do something with the same sort of principle. So I will say thank you for watching. Please do like, subscribe and things. My stats on YouTube seem to be going downwards. And I'm not sure why, whether that's because people are not seeing my videos for some reason. Maybe it's a YouTube thing. Maybe people just aren't enjoying what I'm doing. So, do let me know what you do like and what you're not so keen on. Constructive criticism is always welcomed and appreciated, because it does help me. I can't please everybody, so there will be things that you don't like, which is, that's just life, isn't it? But I will do my best to the majority view of what is enjoyed. Anyway, thank you again, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Take care. Bye.